Is astrology a guide to aid us in mastering the universe? This is the Cosmic Community Podcast with Galactic Ambassador Stacey Dredd.
This astrology report is for the week of April 30th, and also in the second half of the program, going to be spanning the entire month of May and talking about the astrological energies and how they move throughout that entire month. So it should be a very enlightening show today and help us get our minds set for the forward motion. There has been some absolute changes and shifts in the air the last couple of days, and that is because we've had some planetary shifts. We had Venus, the planet of love, money, trust, our value systems. Venus, she moved into the sign of Taurus, and that is actually her home sign. She rules the sign of Taurus, and this is a very comfortable place for her to be. She's kind of in her full glory, and this is where Venus is real strong and kind of recharges herself. She recharges her planetary energy there in her home sign. And then also today, this morning, April 30th, Mars, the planet, our warrior spirit, the warrior god, the planet of masculine energy and fighting and getting out there and getting things done. Mars has moved into his home sign, Aries, and so a very powerful place for him where he is going to recharge the energies there and also be very strong and decisive and confident there. Mars is a very bold energy already, and Venus is the goddess of love, and Mars is the god of war, and they are known in astrology as the cosmic lovers. And whenever we have some interaction between them here, they are just one sign apart from each other and moving into their home signs. Aries and Taurus are right next to each other in the zodiac wheel. So they're kind of like, next door to each other, which isn't a very potent aspect, just a single sign apart. It's called a semi-sextile, and that's when you're just 30 degrees apart there. But it's very balanced, and the fact that they're both entering their home signs, it just feels very comfortable and balanced, even though they might not be making any potent sort of aspects to each other, that they're both in very potent places. So that's kind of how we start off the month of May is with that. And so going into, I guess, really moving into the May astrology, because that is starting up. We have Pluto stationing retrograde to start us off for the month of May. I have been talking about how every month until the end of 2024, we're going to have a planet stationing retrograde each month until the end, and even going into 2025. So we're entering a time of slowing. Things are going to kind of start slowing down when we have retrograded planets. It just means that we go back and we take care of things in the past. We kind of review things, we redo things, we look over things and make edits and make changes, that are going to be better energy flow for us moving forward. So hopefully, finding that efficiency there within a retrograded season to then when we get that direct movement, that we move forward, having made some really great changes that we needed to make for that efficiency moving forward. So Pluto is the farthest off planet, and it has a very subtle energy field. There is an energy to Pluto that's all the things that people never see. So this is skeletons in the closet. This is talking about taboo things that go on behind closed doors. This is bringing things to the light that have been in the dark. This is where you receive communications about things that are very enlightening, and those things from the dark come into the light. We can see that and address these shadow areas. And so working with Pluto is always a little painful because Pluto represents permanent change. So a lot of times, this is where we make permanent changes. And during a Pluto retrograde, it lasts for a long time. So it's kind of a subtle energy over the next 6 months. This is going to be happening until October, and then going to be taking some time for Pluto to catch up steam and start moving into that fresh territory again. So here we are in a place where we've actually had a lot of Pluto interaction recently with the recent full moon. That one was the full moon in Scorpio on April 23rd. That was Scorpio being the ruling sign of Pluto. So Pluto was already highlighted during this last full moon and also was in a direct T-square with that full moon. So in a square to the sun and a square to the moon. And what this means is that it creates a challenging situation. And so we've already had Pluto kind of in a challenging situation. And with this slowing energy, we are feeling this a lot. We are feeling the desire, the need for transformation, for change. And with Pluto, I was saying it's kind of painful because Pluto represents permanent change. These are things that we make these changes and never go back. So that's a very powerful thing, but it's also a very scary thing. So this is the energy that we start off May with, but it's also, like I said, going to be in the background for many months. And then on May 5th is our new moon in Taurus. And this is at 18 degrees of Taurus. And this one is known as a super moon. And that's because the moon is closer to the Earth than usual in the orbit. See, orbits aren't exactly round. They're more in sort of an egg shape. And so you get these times where the planets come in really close and then they swing out into that wide orbit kind of far away, and then they swing back in. And so knowing this, we get moons that are closer and you can actually see, right? These supermoons, you look out and maybe you didn't know it was a supermoon, or you did, or whatever, but it's just huge out there, right? Oh my gosh, why does it just look so big and it's just so bright? And that's the supermoon. And so the new moon, of course, isn't able to be viewed. It's when the moon and the sun come together. But just knowing that it's still very close into the Earth means that this new moon is going to be extra impactful. And Taurus new moons are all about planting seeds. So this can be physically planting seeds in your garden and getting that going. After all, Taurus represents the earth and our connection to the earth and the resources that come from the earth. Also, Taurus represents just earth concerns. So like environmentalism and having that connection and that balance, in nature is really important to the Taurus energy. And so a really good time with this Taurus new moon during Taurus season. And actually I kind of swept over it, but we have Beltane actually occurring here on the 1st of May too. May Day and Beltane technically on the 1st, but the astrological Beltane is actually on May 4th. And that is when the sun reaches 15 degrees of Taurus and marks the midway point of spring. Yeah, can you believe that that's already happening? It is halfway through spring. So we come to this new moon in Taurus and we go, oh yeah, it is time. It is time to plant those seeds. I am going to make some plans. I am going to communicate some new things to people. New moons are always about starting new cycles. Taurus energy is really stable and has to do with stability and wealth also. And so there is a comfort that we try and find with Taurus energy. 444-444-444-444-444 across all my clocks here. This is Stacey Dredd, Galactic Ambassador in the cosmic community. So as we move out of the Taurus new moon, we're going to definitely start to feel that desire, that push for the new. There's going to be also this warmer energy coming in here in the northern hemisphere anyways, and And we, start to want to go outside more and connect. And that is Taurus energy, going out, putting your feet on the earth, smelling the flowers, listening to the leaves, listening to the sound of the water, jumping in the water, feeling nature and being 100% immersed. So that is a good plan for the Taurus new moon. And make sure that you look at your birth chart at 18 degrees of Taurus and see where this new moon really wants to play in your life. Moving on into the middle of May 15th, we have our first planetary change in the month of May. One of 4 planets that are going to be moving into a new sign. So May brings with it a big shift of energy. We just had Venus and Mars enter new signs. And then we swing into the month of May. And on the 15th of May, Mercury is moving into the sign of Taurus. Right now, the sun is ahead of Venus and Mercury, which they all travel together. They all stay pretty close to each other because, after all, they are around the sun. And so that is interesting because at different parts of the year, you get these planets in different orders. As right now, the sun is ahead, so our focus is moving forward. We are wanting to move our focus into the future and push things into Gemini season, carry all of these resources and build our tool set, literally putting tools in our toolbox during Taurus season. And when we get to Gemini season, that is where we start to really flush out our ideas and gather more information. And so Taurus time is a time for Mercury here in Taurus is going to be working on that grander vision of which the sun is already charging ahead and pretty focused on. So our mind, the planet of Mercury representing our mind, is going to kind of catch up to this. It could feel like right now, with the sun being ahead of all the other personal planets, that the vision is like out there, but we're not really sure yet, like how to make it happen. And this is okay because we get all of these different shifts of energy. And at times it's good to have the big vision first. And at times it's good to have all the details worked out first. But in this case, Mercury is going to be joining into this, gathering tools and building the toolbox right around the middle of May. And it's going to come just in time because then the sun moves into Gemini, creating the first day of Gemini season on May 20th. And these are all Pacific Coast time. So if you're listening from another place on the planet, you'll have to do a little math to see if it's exactly on the days that are here on the Pacific West Coast. But the sun moving into Gemini is an air sign. So we open up all the doors and windows and let some fresh air in. And this time of year can be challenging because Taurus, Beltane, we want to get outside and connect with nature. Here on the high desert, we have some challenging weather this time of year. Sometimes it forces us back inside. Sometimes it steals our plans away from us. And sometimes it makes us have to change our plans and we didn't really want to. But then Gemini season comes and it does. It feels like we get that breath of fresh air. We are finally going to be opening up the windows to the house and letting in some of that movement. So that is going to be definitely well anticipated by the time we get there. And then our full moon in Sagittarius is on May 23rd. And so we're kind of back to a cycle now where we have the full moons coming in right at the beginning of the season. We were at it was the new moons right at the beginning of the season, but now it's kind of flip-flopped and we've got the full moons taking place right there at the top of the season. So this is the full moon in Sagittarius at 3 degrees of Sagittarius. And this is where we start integrating this is where Pluto is finally going to be moving in this backward motion, this retrograded motion. And we're going to be having the opportunity to integrate all of the Pluto lessons that have taken place over the past, 2-3 months, but more than that, there's been a lot of Pluto action going on with also the, if you really want to go deep on the Pluto action, the USA Pluto return is this year. And that means that the day that the United States was born, the signing of the Declaration of Independence, Pluto was at a certain spot. And now it's come back around and we are at our Pluto return point. And it's said to be a big time of transformation for, as I said, whatever it is, it's permanent, right, with Pluto. And so America going through some type of Pluto return right now and these permanent changes taking place. So yes, there is a lot of Pluto lessons to be integrated here. And Sagittarius is really good at seeing that bigger vision. In fact, Sagittarius has a wisdom to the energy that it's knowing. It's an inner knowing. There is an inner knowing and a wisdom to Sagittarius energy that really helps us to hone in on that grander vision. That exact same day, Venus is moving into the sign of Gemini. So she really moves quickly through Taurus. They're in, 3 weeks in the beginning of May. And then boom, she's out. She's in Gemini, joining the sun in the Gemini party and not too far behind the sun. And we'll make that conjunction also sometime soon in the future too. So this is really interesting when you get the full moons and a planetary change, or a new moon and a planetary change on the same day, because it just invigorates, it adds that energy in to whatever the lessons are that we're working with the full moon. So Venus entering Gemini. She also becomes very curious here in Gemini, because that is the number one word for Geminis is curiosity. Geminis love to ask questions and kind of dig in deep for answers. There is an ability for Geminis to have conversation, this one-on-one conversation that is really enlightening and really gets to the heart of the individuals who are involved in that one-on-one conversation. So whenever I'm talking to Geminis, I always realize that I'm going in deeper than I even realize, because they just have a way of asking these really interesting questions. So we're going to be asking questions about Venus themes. She is about love, money, values, and trust. And so we'll be examining that under the Gemini light come May 23rd and on. And then we have another planet joining the Gemini party on May 25th. And this is Jupiter. Jupiter just came out of that massive conjunction with Uranus and is yearning for something new right now. And so Jupiter, the planet of luck and expansion and optimism, is going to be asking those questions and becoming curious and letting the air in and doing all of those Gemini things. So the beginning of May and the end of May have two totally different energetic signatures to them. And this seems like a pretty big shifting point for me this year, because we are really moving out of that Pisces time. Now, finally, with Mars moving out of Pisces, coming into Aries, planets shifting out of Taurus, moving into Gemini, that everything is spreading out just a little bit more, and there's going to be a lot more breathing room by the end of May. So I hope that this has been helpful for you, and that there was some information you were able to glean to indeed live your most benevolent life. And I will be chatting with you again very soon. Thank you so much. Peace.
Thank you for listening to the Cosmic Community Podcast. More can be found at kpov.org/thecosmiccommunity.